Hey folks, Kilt-Man here, Kilt-Man at your services. How are you all? Hope you're all doing very, very well. Now, yes, if you've seen the previous video, you will know we have a new member of the Kilty clan at Kilt Mansion HQ. We have a little puddy tat, yes, going by the name of Wednesday. That's its code name. And yeah, it's an unpredictable little bastard. She's gorgeous, but my God, she's manic, she's mayhem, but she's great and adorable, and she will of course make an appearance. Just a scant moment before hitting that record button, she knocked over Dirty Harry. Yes, the same creature that I said in the previous video, oh, she doesn't knock anything over, she's so nimble-footed. And then on that same video, you heard it, crash bang wallop over there where she'd knocked things flying. And from that point onwards, she's caused absolute bedlam. Mrs. Kilt-Man's prized bonsai rubber plant, which grew to epic proportions, has been chopped off in its prime. Not entirely the cat's fault. Well, it is the cat's fault. The cat was on the ledge, the rubber plant was there, two other plants were there, and there's a towel underneath. When they get watered, there's a little towel underneath. And she must, what we surmise, she must have got a claw caught in the towel and then leapt to escape, dragging said towel and all of the plants with it. Smash, bang, crash, wallop, wreckage, soil, highly prized fronds of a rubber plant bonsai all over the place. Kitten just going like, don't look at me, nothing to do with me, licking the soil from beneath its claws. So anyway, folks, because of that cat's arrival, things have been sort of not happening in quite the style I would like them to happen. So the videos have been somewhat delayed. Plus, it's my son's birthday yesterday as well. So happy birthday for yesterday to Luke. We went out for a big meal, and I'd obviously gone out earlier to avoid the damn cat. Get some kind of equilibrium back. Had a few whiskies. So anyway, now we have a canvas from Steve 007 Smith. You know him, you love him. It's Steve 007 Smith, the benefactor of all of these canvases you see all the way around, and luckily not been scratched by that said miscreant as yet. This has been here for a few days, but because of stuff, fairy four-legged stuff, I haven't unboxed it. Now, in the last video I gave you the clues, so if you stuck with the video you might know what the clues are, but don't worry, I'm going to remind you, for those unfamiliar with this format, for many years now, Steve 007 Smith has sent movie canvases to me, mystery canvases. They're boxed, they're sealed, but he sends me some clues as to what they may be, and in a good 95 to 97% of the time over the years, and there are hundreds of these, I've got it right. But lately, he really has moved up a gear and just gonna look, I'm just gonna throw any words together, see if they make sense, and that's gonna be your clue. It's a film. They made this a few years ago. It's great. Oh, but I'll still get it right though. Well, in this particular case, I really don't have a clue. No, I do have a couple of clues. Speaking of clues, I shall read out the clues he gave to us, and you see if you can pick the bones out of this. I've gone down a certain road with it because of a certain phrase that's in here, because with a lack of anything else tangible to leap onto, like a decade it was made or a director's name or any real mega hint, I've only got that to work on. But I think he's put that phrase in. I think he's thought about it, and I think it's there for a purpose. So anyway, the clues are thus: even though they didn't know it, this film would change the future of cinema. I don't think anyone, apart from James Cameron, sets out to make a film that they intend to change the future of cinema. They just want to make a film, get it out there, make a bit of money, then make another film. The second clue, and there's only two: if it was released today, it would still cut it in today's cinematic landscape. So even though they didn't know it, here's the cat, even though they didn't know it, this film would change the future of cinema. If it was released today, it would still cut it in today's cinematic landscape. I have emphasised the phrase I think is relevant. Cut it. That's just... Sorry, you have to get used to me being distracted by the cat, because I'm not used to its antics and when it suddenly springs up, you know, from one minute to the next. With Roxy the Wonder Dog, she was big and she was massive and she was huge and she was all those words that mean big and in your face, and you couldn't mistake where she was. You'd hear it coming from a mile away. This thing, super stealth, till it knocks something over, obviously. So, if it was released today, it would still cut it in today's cinematic landscape. Again, a lot of films were made back in a certain era, but they had, whether it was star power, great directorial verve, visual effects, a particular style, great music, or all of that combined, and that goes on to shape maybe a genre itself. Now, I've done a list of movies which I think fit the bill for this, and some movies I've not mentioned which you might come up with, but that's because I've already got canvases for them. Now, I know he has sent multiple canvases for certain movies in the past, but it's not the norm for him to do so. So I do think it's something that he hasn't done before or sent to me. I can hear her scraping round out there now. She's like, no, if Dad's talking, my new dad's talking, I'm going to make my presence felt as well. So I jump on my head in a minute. Oh, before I carry on, Mrs. Kilt-Man this morning in the sink getting washed, putting her hooves in there as well before the farrier comes to tidy them up, and she's getting washed and she sort of bent over like that, and the cat was on the back watching intently. I was in there too. I was doing something else at the time. Careful now. Mrs. Kilt-Man was bent over, but don't get any ideas. And the cat leapt on her back. So poor Mrs. Kilt-Man was like, what? This cat's riding it like a bucking bronco. She's like, Jesus. And I was laughing so much. She goes, it's actually hurting me. I couldn't stop laughing. I said, I'm in pain too. My ribs are killing me. Oh, stop it. Stop falling all over the place. Stop screaming. It's great. The cat just gave up in the end and jumped off. Anyway, right. Bearing in mind those two clues, even though they didn't know it, this film would change the future of cinema. If it was released today, it would still cut it in today's cinematic landscape. I've written it down and I've underlined the words cut it, you know. Okay, let's go obvious. Star Wars, of course. But Steve knows I'm not a big fan of Star Wars, so he wouldn't do it, would he? It is a great poster though, although it's a great posters for Star Wars. And the film was a massive innovation, of course. There's no denying it. But no, I don't think it's that. But it fits the bill. Dracula 1958, that's Hammer's Dracula, which put Hammer on the map. That and Curse of Frankenstein both put Hammer on the map. And Steve, I know him personally. Dracula 1958, Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing, that was the film that set him in love with cinema and movie music. That was the big catalyst for him. Catalyst, see, it's creeping in now. So it could be that, Night of the Living Dead, George Romero, and I've discussed that many times, of course. Huge influence on pretty much all of horror from that point onwards. Whether you're making a zombie movie, a vampire movie, a werewolf movie, a psychological thriller, a claustrophobic cabin in the woods type thing, suddenly graphic, explicit gore was the order of the day. And nihilistic, bleak endings as well. It broke the mold, a black hero. It did so many things, and that fits the first bill. Even though they didn't know it, this film would change the future of cinema. Romero, John Russo, and all the rest of the cast and crew had no idea. They were just making it a drive-in movie. That's all they intended to do. I've discussed this movie's genesis and its impact and its legacy many times. Could well be that. In fact, now I've just said that out loud. And I do not have a canvas for that. I would love one. Texas Chainsaw Massacre. All that I just said there applies to Texas Chainsaw. You wouldn't have had Texas Chainsaw without Night of the Living Dead. You would not have had that. But Tobe Hooper's fantastic movie, which is semi-documentarian, but hyper-realistic, in-your-face and vivid, not as explicit as everyone thinks. Everyone thinks, oh, you've seen people get cut up with chainsaws. You haven't. The only one image you see of a chainsaw going into human flesh is when Leatherface falls over after getting a big lump hammer in his fucking head, or a monkey wrench or something like that, and he hits the deck, and his own chainsaw slices into his own leg, and briefly you see it, and he goes, oh, through behind his mask, and squeezes, the flesh together, and a bit of blood comes out. That's the goriest moment in Texas Chainsaw, and it's self-inflicted. The Wild Bunch. See, a lot of these are, well, lately, it's sort of 60s, late 60s, early 70s. The Wild Bunch, Sam Peckinpah, awesome movie. I have discussed it a lot. Nihilistic, elegiac, bloodthirsty, exciting, powerful. It has everything. They didn't know, it doesn't fit the bill, because Peckinpah had already stamped his name with previous movies, and he knew what he was doing. A renegade, a maverick of cinema, and he knew exactly what he was doing. And he wasn't out to change the shape and the future of cinema. He was making a statement. But in his mind, he must have known somewhere in some compartmentalized elements of his brain that this is going to change the way we view Westerns from this point onwards. And Westerns will play another part in this. Mad Max, George Miller, 1979. A new, superstar in the making, Mel Gibson. Outrageous stunts, a threadbare story, but enough to usher in the post-apocalyptic landscape and action dramas and the one-man hero who comes in and saves the day. Basically a Western. Basically, it's a Western, just with motorbikes and cars instead of horses. That's what it is. But it's still a thriller minute, ultra low budget, piece of cinema, piece of celluloid, which would change action cinema from that point onwards and make it, as I say, a superstar out of Mel Gibson. And a director, in demand with George Miller. Mad Max. Now, he has sent canvases for Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior, and Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, but I don't have one for Mad Max, so it could be. Psycho. Both me and Steve love Psycho. Again, it's meant to be a TV movie, but Hitch went, nah. This is bigger and better than that. But we're still going to shoot it in black and white for budgetary concerns, although it looks artistically fantastic as well. Super shocks, controversial, taboo breaking, fantastic use of editing and music, groundbreaking in many ways, and an absolute milestone of horror and psychological thriller. Milestone, said that twice now, a milestone within the genre. Huge. Its impact cannot be exaggerated or overstated. It's massive. Rocky. Again, the sporting movie genre isn't particularly spectacular, I wouldn't say. The highlights of sporting movies tend to be the Rocky films, so it's more of the same, but making a superstar out of Stallone. It's an Oscar-winning movie. It's brilliant. It's a great drama. It's a human emotional drama, but it's punchy, and it's exciting to watch. It gets you going. Suddenly, an entire nation was lifted on Rocky's shoulders. Then the entire world was. It became a global success, spawning a huge franchise. So Rocky, that's huge. There's a canvas for Rocky 3. I keep pointing behind me. It's not actually, it's somewhere over there. Lawrence of Arabia. It won't be that. I don't know why I put that down. Cinematically, editing wise, music, Maurice Jarre, outstanding. Great performance by Peter O'Toole. Wonderful ensemble cast. A little bit racist, some would say today. So hang on, if it was released today, it would still cut it in today's cinematic. It wouldn't. And I said recently, or certainly within the last sort of 6 to 8 months, that there is intentions to remake Lawrence of Arabia as a sort of, I think, a TV show, like a mini series or something. That's never going to happen. You can't remake that. There's ample ground to do it. The story of T.E. Lawrence, Lieutenant T.E. Lawrence, there's a lot more to it than what in David Lean's movie was shown But David Lean's movie is so sweeping, so epic, so magisterial, so beautiful to look at, captivating to listen to. It's a wild ride. It's a wild camel ride. It's an odyssey. Die Hard. Again, with Lethal Weapon, Predator in the late 80s, you got Die Hard as well. John McTiernan pushed the boundaries of action cinema and the one-man hero ethic, and where he pushed white vests, well, he muddied them all and muddied them, bloodied them, but white vest became, de rigueur, going to be an action hero, and you haven't quite got the same musculature as Stallone or Schwarzenegger, then a white vest will do, and your shoulders and that little bit above your pecs, and your arms will look great. Alien. Well, we've covered Alien a hell of a lot, and I have canvases for Alien from Steve. Again, a trendsetter, a franchise creator, striking visually, musically, effects, story-wise, super shocker. Again, need I say more? Before I go on to the ones which I these are the ones that I'm thinking of. I should give a mention out to 4D Man, who has been with the channel since the very beginning. He's shown some love. He lives out there in the ghost town of Eccles, Manchester way. It's beset by bandits and marauders. It's a dangerous life he lives. So, but he said, "How about a fistful of dollars?" I went, gee, I didn't think of that. So I mentioned to come back to westerns. A Fistful of Dollars, Sergio Leone. It's the film that brought Sergio Leone, Clint Eastwood and Ennio Morricone really to the foreground. It did not create the spaghetti western as a genre. You'd had them before, and he would only make several, Sergio Leone. But the Dollars trilogy shaped the way that the western hero suddenly became an anti-hero. He had issues, he was haunted, he wasn't quite, he wasn't the shining knight. He had a big bag of demons, alongside him in his saddlebags, and he'd kill remorselessly. He wouldn't ride off into the sunset, looking after the family of the guy who's been killed. He wouldn't take a new bride. He's got adventures to come. He's a mercenary. So Fistful of Dollars, again, music, highly visual, great directorial style, fantastic performances. Hey, it could be that. And out of the Dollars trilogy and spaghetti westerns, Steve has sent me one for one of the first canvases he ever sent. In fact, it may be the first one he ever sent to me, was for The Good, the Bad and the Ugly. Why am I playing Delta Force? Wouldn't it be great if it was Delta Force? Right, now these are ones which I thought, now these could be it. Actually changing cinema. I've written that down. It's not what he said, but it would change the future of cinema. And if released today, we still cut it in today's cinematic landscape. Well, maybe not on that second score. Tron, for its visual effects. Although Tron has, of course, got a sequel, and well, I didn't like the sequel at all. But I do love the first one. Groundbreaking visuals, groundbreaking idea. Computers were all the rage. Video games were coming in, arcade games. Combine that with a futuristic sort of adventure. Get sucked into the landscape of a computer and have to battle, the OCP and all that. No, is it OCP? Oh, that's RoboCop, isn't it? But you know what I mean. And alongside that, The Last Starfighter, because The Last Starfighter was the first film that actually brought in proper CG. Well, it was rough and ready CG, looked very cartoonish, but a great film. But you'd had that story before. It's the King Arthur story. It's Excalibur. It's Star Wars. It's Star Trek. So, but I thought, well, they're groundbreaking for various reasons. Now here's one which, when I first read all that, I thought, well, there's one film that actually does do this, apart from the cut it element, and that's King Kong 1933. Willis O'Brien. Kong. I've reviewed King Kong, I've talked about it a lot, I've done a commentary for it, and again, the story's unusual, great big giant ape falls in love with a blonde girl. You've got native sacrifice. You've got a sort of magical lost island. You've got adventure. You've got action. You've got horror. You've got dinosaurs. You've got carnage aplenty. Then you've got the tragedy and the bizarre love story. Innovative with effects. Gotta stop doing that. Innovative with effects and visuals, and of course Max Steiner's score. Max Steiner was the godfather of movie scoring. He put movie music, he turned it into an art form, which we all now know and love. You can't really think of a movie without its score as well. Well, all of us in the Kilty clan have a massive appreciation of film music, and Max Steiner is the guy that started that. That with King Kong and with They Die With the Boots On, he nailed what movie music should be. Heighten the emotion, tell the story. Divorced from the visuals, you can still listen to it and still be wowed by the story. You'd be carried along with action set pieces, real sturm and drang and momentum. So King Kong 1933. He has sent me a canvas for King Kong 76, which I love. You're getting sick of this now, it's brainwashing. I know. Cheers, y'all. I'm gonna change tack here. I'm going to go with Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein. What? Because why the hell not? That was kind of groundbreaking. A horror comedy with genuinely funny and genuinely horrifying as well, with eeriness. Although you have had Bob Hope who'd done a few horror comedies before, and even Bride of Frankenstein is classed as a horror comedy as well. So, and that had been done decades and decades before. Right, Dr. No, the first official of the James Bond movie franchise. Sean Connery as Bond. It wasn't the first of Ian Fleming's Bond novels, but it was the first cinematically put out there. And of course it created and spawned an entire genre, the action spy thriller. Yeah, you had Harry Palmer and you got Jason Bourne, but it was Sean Connery and Dr. No that did it first. It was improved upon. Dr. No is not a great movie, I don't think, but the second movie, From Russia With Love, and then the third movie, Goldfinger, nailed everything, got the format just right. But Dr. No is the first one. Could it be Dr. No? Yeah. Hang on. Released today, will it still cut it in today's? No. No, because it's pure 60s, it couldn't do it. Star Wars could, Like Living Dead could, Texas Chainsaw could. If we hadn't had them, they could cut it in today's. They would change the cinematic landscape today if these films came out today. Apocalypse Now. Shit, did I say that? I didn't say it before, did I? Apocalypse Now. Again, another odyssey. Visually awe-inspiring. Terrific use of music. Great characters. Fantastic script. Brilliant direction. A troubled shoot, of course, as we know. But it's epic in scope. It's ostensibly about the Vietnam War, but it's about so much more than that. It uses that as the backbone. It's, again, a man's odyssey, a mission to go and kill someone else, but how these two minds meet and why am I doing what I'm doing, but told within the intricate fabric of the Vietnam travesty, bringing in tons of issues about the Vietnam War, heightening it all. It's a wonderful movie. It's a true experience, whichever version you watch. I've covered it a lot as well. But I don't think it's any of those. I'll be honest and say that the phrase "cut it" is about the only thing I could latch onto, and I could be awesomely wrong here. Don't know if you heard that, but something has just gone flying out there. It's up to its tricks. I'll turn this down a bit. Oh. Hello, hon. A little meow. It's like, shut up with your dad, play with me. Dirty Harry itself, there's one for you, because that broke the mold of the cop thriller. Again, it brought the spaghetti western style hero, again Clint Eastwood, into the role of the good cop. Only he's an ultra right wing cop, but he takes out the bad guys, doesn't give a shit about the rules, and of course that spawned an entire genre of the cops that don't play by the rule book. You know, they're maverick, they live by their own standards and all that. They're usually a loner, they're haunted by something. So many came out afterwards in you know, the aftermath of Dirty Harry, and of course the Dirty Harry franchise itself. John Wayne, of course, was asked to play Dirty Harry, turned it down, thought it was too violent, and then kicked himself afterwards, but he saw how great the film was. So, well, it can't be that, because it's here! Or can it? I'm sure like Steve must have a list of all the ones he sent to me, or does he actually just forget sometimes, and like there could be a double up, you know? 2 films, but one really in particular. One I've talked about but never really reviewed it, not on the channel anyway, but I have talked about it. One I think I've reviewed it, but I've certainly talked about it a hell of a lot. Now, you guys know I would play the music to these, but one of them, the main one I think it is, because he knows how much I love it, and he doesn't, incidentally. I can't play the music because the last time I did, the video got blocked because of the certain composer and his music. For some reason, the random gods of copyright on YouTube come slamming down. So I can't play his music, which is a real issue, because if it's that, and I've been wanting to play it, and it's great music as well. So the 2 films, the phrase "cut it" is what it is, and they both fit the bill. Do you mind? Even though they didn't know it, this film would change the future of cinema. One of them definitely did. The other one I'm thinking of ushered in something which changed the shape of cinema, and isn't. If it was released today, it would still cut it in today's cinematic landscape. The one I think it is, visually, story-wise, it's enigmatic, it's powerful, it's visually stunning. It looks great. It looks like it was filmed today. It's still that good. And the other one, yeah, apart from a bit of ropey CG by today's standards, action-wise, certainly fits the bill. So what am I thinking of then, folks? Well, first up, the one that I don't think it is from 1998, and it's Stephen Norrington's Marvel adaptation of Blade. Wesley Snipes, the Snipester himself. Blade, because he cut it. What did Blade do that they didn't know it, but this film would change the future of cinema? Well, it's commonly regarded as being the precursor to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And it is. You'd had comic book heroes before. You'd had early Spider-Man movies. You had Tim Burton's Batman, of course. Batman and Batman Returns. Brilliant, brilliant stuff. There's probably a few others dotted around, I can't remember now. But Blade was an adult movie. Action, gory, nasty. Heads were coming off. It was a horror action movie. Blade, of course, takes down vampires. He's half vampire himself. But he has none of the weaknesses of a vampire, but he has all the strengths. And he wields a mighty blade as well. Now, I have the Sword of the Daywalker, which, because I don't think it's Blade, I haven't got it behind me. Ordinarily, I'd knock these down and there would be the Sword of the Daywalker behind us. But I don't think it's that. I think it's something else with Blade in the title. I think it's, you know where I'm going with this. I think it's Ridley Scott's mighty, mighty adaptation of Philip K. Dick's Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? Blade Runner. Blade Runner fits both of those. Even though they didn't know it, this film would change the future of cinema. It brought in cinematic cyberpunk, steampunk. It brought everything in. All this sort of nihilistic dystopian futures. Yes, it hadn't before, you know, Metropolis and other movies much earlier on. Metropolis, shit. Metropolis fits the bill as well. Oh my god. If it was released today, it would still cut it in today's cinematic landscape. Cut it, Blade. Because it looks like it's filmed today. It's exactly that. It's been sitting there for days. I'm going to have to open this bloody thing, aren't I? Cheers, George. Cheers, Steve. Oh, God, I'm running out of tea. And what little tea I've got left has gone cold. But Vangelis' score. I've done videos about Blade Runner. Some have got through, but some haven't. They've been blocked because of playing Vangelis. So I can't play it. I'm not entirely sure if this is particularly fit neither. But I'll tell you what I have got though. I've got Blade from Mark Isham. So we've got that. Folks, I really am stabbing in the dark to use the Blade analogy, because it could be any of what I said previously. It could be either one of these, or it could be something entirely I've not looked at, not thought of. It could be Fistful of Dollars. Jaws, for Christ! Oh no, Jaws is actually on the wall right behind you there. I don't think he'd do that. It's too obvious, although this year is the 50th anniversary of Jaws. Much more on Jaws to come, of course. So let's just see. I've got Blade. Yeah. And I'm now going to use a blade to get into it. But it could be anything. I mean, how many, even like James Whale's 1931 Frankenstein, Todd Browning's Dracula for Universal, if they changed the shape of cinema, fucking hell, I honestly, look, stick with what you think. Blade Runner. And I do love Blade Runner. Right, so we are sealed in, we are boxed in. Oh, can't show you the address. Right. Ooh. The old trusty ski and do is not as trustworthy as it used to be. Oh, it still works. So we've lost the twine. Oh, just thought, the cat's gonna love that, isn't it? Wednesday. Well, its official name is Wednesday, but we call it Wendy. Oh, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't fucking react anyway. Right. So let's see if we can. Okay, right, what we're going to have in here, true to form, it'll be the canvas will be sealed in by cellophane. It is, I can see. And we've got a backing piece there. So you can't see what it is, it's sealed in. So I still can't get any clue from that. But I'm going with, what was this, what did I say? Blade, no, what am I playing? Blade Runner. Oh, I wish I could play like Tears in the Rain. Oh, damn it. So what I'm going to do, folks, I'm going to slash through the cellophane and I'm going to raise this up. Raise it up. It's been on for half an hour and we haven't even looked at it yet. I'm quite quick for this one, aren't I? Okay. Oh. I'm surprised the cat's not getting involved in this. You know, normally you get a box. We've had other deliveries for my daughter, and the cat's been all over, getting in the box and playing with the wrapping paper and all that. Like, okay. Should we stick with this? Blade Runner. Ow! Fucking hell. There's a blade in here! Is it upside down? But it's upside down. It's... Oh! Oh, now come on. Come on. I'm playing this bloody music. I was bloody close with that. Oh. Hang on. Got a live one. There's a bit of a loose thread on the back. Look at that. It is Blade. I'll be honest. I really was thinking it was Blade Runner. But I don't think I think thinking of Blade Runner and like that cut it Blade Runner. Well, what else was innovative? With a knife or a sword or something. Blade itself, Blade. Well, you got me, Steve. You got me. Oh, damn! But I was close. I was as close as the finite edge on his blade. Look at that. Look at the blood red background. And we've got it's the rave, the blood rave in the background. A fabulous opening scene. And there he is. I mean, just trying to see. Yeah, that's super cool, that is. I mean, the poster, if I remember right, the original poster for it was very similar to this. That font, that blade there. He would be there standing sort of more face on. And in the background, you'd have Stephen Dorff's eyes as Deacon Frost, who's the young upstart vampire. They're not like the elders, they're a new breed of vampire, and he wants to take over the whole fucking system. And you've got the elders led by, of course, Udo Kier, the great Udo Kier from Flesh for Frankenstein, and of course, Blood for Dracula. Andy Warhol's version, well, for Paul Morrissey, but Andy Warhol's name's attached to them. And they're both in 3D, and both rather sexy as well. And he's also in Suspiria and so many other movies. And the poor bastard, Udo Kier, gets dragged out to the beach as the sun comes up because, unlike our boy here, all the other vampires, yeah, they've got their weaknesses too. Silver and their crucifixes, and do crucifixes work? Actually, I'm not sure they do in this. Can't remember now. It's been a long time since I've seen it. But daylight works on them and they go all crisp up. And you've got that big fat sort of informer called Pearl, and he turns a UV lamp on this Pearl, and she begins to get incinerated and burnt, and he's torturing her. It's a really nasty interrogation scene to get information about Deacon Frost. And isn't there a book? There's a big bloody book about vampire lore and mythology. Because what Deacon Frost wants to do, he wants to do the blood ritual, and he has like, if he gets all the other elders and drains their blood, I can't quite remember now, drains their blood, he will bring about the birth of the blood god Le Magre, something like that, Le Magre. But in the meantime, you got him thwarting alongside his busy mate Whistler, played by the late great Kris Kristofferson, who's in a great role. Does all his weapons and hones and tones and trains him. He's got a big souped up car. He's got all the mod cons and all that. Sort of adamantium silver stakes, which he plunges through using extensive martial arts. His swords. He's got that glaive thing, which he just flings around and all heads come off. Like, so it's gory as hell, very CG gore, but some practical effects, but some great CG and some really naff CG as well. But great stunts, great action, great choreography, a thunderous soundtrack. You're hearing Mark Isham's score, which is very brooding, but there's a lot of like, sort of dance and trance tracks that are in it, rave tracks, especially during this opening sequence where some poor bastard gets dragged in by this beauty to this underground rave. Unbeknownst to him, every single one, apart from him who's in there, is a vampire. And they turn on like the sprinkler system, and he's like, they're all dancing around, and it's all blood coming down. Next thing, they all turn on this guy. They're all torturing him, taunting him, and then Blade steps in there, and he should be bedecked in blood because he's standing there underneath the all these blood shower bloody things, and then they all run out, and everyone's like moving back, sort of all their fangs are bent. It's the day walker because he can walk about in the daylight. See, he's got none of the weaknesses. And then he just fucking lays waste to the entire lot. It's absolutely fantastic opening sequence. You've got the sequence with the train as well, like, it's brilliant. You've got oh god, there's one called Quinn, who he keeps severing arms off this guy, but he keeps growing them back, and he gets burnt, but he's like, I'm coming back for Blade, I'm gonna kill you, Blade, I'm gonna kick your ass. Played by Donald Logue. Of course, he gets his face rammed against a speeding train. He's like, You've got Tracy Lords in there as Raquel, I think, or Rochelle. And you've got he saves a nurse because how does this happen? I can't remember how it happens. It's been a long time since I've seen it. He will go to this nurse tries to save someone who turns out to be a vampire or something and puts a bite on her. He turns up, gets this guy, saves her, well, takes her back to Whistler, who's got a serum which will fight the vampiric plague. He takes suppressants to stop him from like feeding on humans, to stop that vampiric urge. So he fights for humans against vampires, because he was born of, when his mother was giving birth to him, a vampire, Deacon Frost. No, hang on, is it Deacon Frost who put the bite on her? Hey, you're all going, no, Kilty, you got it wrong. I can't remember. Was it Deacon Frost, Stephen Dorff himself, that put the bite on his mumsy? I think it is. Could be wrong, but I think it is. So, and then she dies, well, or so you think. There's a twist, folks, because his mum comes back. Spoilers, sorry. And so that's how he becomes a vampire, because he's born as his mother succumbs to vampirism. But he's a hybrid. So he meets up with Whistler, and that's it. We're going to take these bastards down. We're waging a war, you know. I think some of these vampires can walk around. They've got to put makeup on, like to withstand the sunlight, the UV. But it is an excellent movie. Stephen Norrington directed it, and he would go on to do The Ghost in the Darkness, which I think is fucking awesome. Where is the Blu-ray or 4K release of that? What has happened to that movie? But Norrington would also do an adaptation of Alan Moore's The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen with Sean Connery, who we mentioned earlier, I do believe. And I like the film. You've got Jason Fleming in there as well as Mr. Hyde. You've got somebody as Captain Nemo, and it was super sleek Nautilus and a fantastic car as well. And I like it. Alan Moore, the great comic book artist and writer, Alan Moore, hates every adaptation of any bit of his work that's ever been put out there. So no fucking surprises that he turned his back on it, wanted his name removed. But Sean Connery had a really, really bad time. He plays Alan Quatermain in it, the adventurer Alan Quatermain. He's no Indiana Jones, but Alan Quatermain came first. You know, he was already written about. But he had such a terrible time. He said I'm choking. I'm ending my career now because of this fucking travesty of a movie. This fucking travesty of a movie. I'm never going to work with Hollywood again. And he never did. That was it. But I think the film's great. It's super enjoyable. It's got a great score by Trevor Jones. I love the movie. Have I got that? No, I haven't. No, I haven't got a score on this. But anyway, and after that, what did Norrington do after that? I can't think what he did. He would have done something. But this film, let's go on the clues again. Even though they didn't know it, this film would change the future of cinema because it ushered in comic book movie adaptations, but not sort of. Tim Burton had done it before, but this was going to be this was going to usher in the MCU, and the MCU was going to usher in DC for their expanded universe, or whatever the hell they call themselves. As far as I'm concerned, they've all run their course. I'll take another Batman movie. Yes, the Batman was great, but the Avengers, it's saturation point. Stop now. Fed up of all of them, and I loved them, and I loved the X-Men. I loved Wolverine, and he got 2 more movies. He got Blade 2. Guillermo del Toro did it, and it's great. It's you've got one of the Goss twins. Is it Luke Goss or Matt Goss? I can't remember which one it is now. He was great. He's also in Guillermo del Toro's Hellboy 2, Golden Army. And these are are they called the Reapers? These vampires whose mouths go like that, like the Predator mandibles, like that. And the action in it is wonderful. And you've got Ron Perlman, Hellboy himself, is in there too. And the Blood Pack is part of this band of sort of elite special ops vampire hunters, but they're kind of vampire too. And the scene in the sewer is outstanding, absolutely outstanding. But you've got the betrayal of the elder vampire again, who's betrayed his own family, and so Matt or Luke Goss, whichever one it is, who's an expert martial artist as well. He wants revenge on his father, and he comes in at the end, and it's just a great scene where he pushes open these double doors, having killed tons of the guards, the goons that these guys are protecting him. They're like Bond henchmen, Bond villains with their armies, they're the minions. Pushes the doors open and just goes, "Father!" My hackles just rose, my blood chilled just then, because I know how powerful that scene is. And it's wonderful martial arts in it. And then they made the third movie, Blade Trinity, with Ryan Reynolds. And I've only seen that film once, and I thought it was okay, but I thought I'm never going to watch this again because it's I've watched it and it's gone now. So doesn't Dracula appear in that? I don't know. Does some muscle-bound Dracula version to fight him at the end? And then of course he made a cameo appearance in Wolverine and Deadpool, or Deadpool and Wolverine. Well, last year, was it last year? Yeah, before. And they are rebooting, reblading Blade. It is going to happen. They are doing it, and he is meant to be in it. Although I've not kept up on current news of that development, but it is supposed to be going ahead. They've been saying it for a long time, but I think this time it really is going to go ahead. But anyway, this celebrates the first movie, which was innovative. Great action, tremendous violence and gore, a great central character. Again, he's an anti-hero. He's a vampire, for fuck's sake. But he's brilliant. He's working for us. And the shock twist, of course, is going to get him, and they're going to use his blood, the blood of the Daywalker. And they've got all these hieroglyphs and that, and the blood's draining out of everybody, and it's going down these little stone tubes, and it's all going to, do something, bring about La Magra, the blood god. And Stephen Dorff wants to be the blood god, if I remember rightly. But he and Whistler have got this ultra sort of chemical in these files, which will destroy vampires. And the big finale, he's some motherfucker's always trying to ice skate up a hill. That's his catchphrase. It doesn't exactly trip off the tongue, but it is a memorable one. And he's been battling tons of these bad bastards. And then Stephen Dorff gets all these things injected in him, and he becomes a huge blobby mass. It's pure CG, and it really looks ropey as fuck now. And then he gets one last one of these files, flips it up, does a spinning roundhouse kick. This guy boots it right into Stephen Dorff's head, between the eyes, and he goes, boosh, explodes everywhere. But he's met his mum. His mum was there too. And I've just remembered there's a scene where the woman he saves, who ends up fighting with him, gets flung into a dungeon. And I think her mate, a doctor from the hospital, is in there. And he's more like a zombie, and he's fucking creepy as hell. It's great. Really eerie sequence. And the vampires use human familiar, so they've got the cops working for them as well. So you get the real sense that there's an epic behind the scenes war going on. You could believe that this underground society could well exist. And believe you me, in the way the world's going right now, I bring it on, bring vampires on. They can't make things any worse than what they are right now. Make it a lot more fun. Put the bite on me. As you can hear, this score is very brooding, very dark, very much underscore. But of course it has these tremendous dance tracks and rave tracks which really punch it all up like, and the action is hyperkinetic. But Snipes is your man. Yeah, he's had a bit of trouble in his private life over the years, but he made a great little comeback in Expendables 3. Or was it Expendables 2? I can't remember which one it was now. Expendables 3, I think. But yeah, it was Expendables 3. But I like him in movies. He does have a very forceful, especially as Blade, ultra serious, very dark, very brooding. Totally not like he was in Demolition Man with Stallone prior to Expendables, as Simon Phoenix. But he's excellent as that though as well. But look at that, Steve, mate, that's brilliant. I mean, that's the original logo font, I think. But this is a variant on the original poster that I remember, and I like it. I likes it a lot. You've got all these people fucking dancing in the background, but our mean motherfucker has arrived, the biggest badass in a dark-hearted world of bloodsuckers. Here he is. If any motherfucker could ice skate up a hill, it'd be him. And he could probably do it backwards, you know. And all his gear, you know, the long leather trench coat, his body, his sleek body armour, his blades. Brilliant stuff. And of course, Whistler gets killed in it. Whistler gets tortured and killed by Stephen Dorff's bad guys and Dorff himself. But he manages to come back for the sequel. The magic of movies. If it was released today, it would still cut it. Certainly, action-wise, it would. If this came out today, this week, you would, apart from the CG, you wouldn't think, oh my god, how dated's that? You think, wow, and it's better than the majority of so-called action horror thrillers that are out, with some guy kicking ass big time. And it's one of the better Marvel adaptations of a character coming from the comics to the big screen. It works. So I can genuinely see his points now, because they do hold up. They are correct. Look at that. Look at that. That's kick-ass, isn't it? Is Snipes too old to do this now? Yeah. No, I don't think so. He's kept in shape. I think he can still kick ass. So I don't know what the story would be, and I've actually forgotten if it's meant to be a TV series, like a mini series, or what, or a proper full-blown movie. I don't think it's a full-blown movie. I think they're going TV route, and there's tons of different stories you could do with him. I mean, it was a long-standing Marvel Comics character. There's lots of different characters you could bring in scenarios and situations. If I remember rightly, this movie ends after he's demolished Deacon Frost. So you know, there's more out there. There's more work to be done. There's a track here which I think it's not over. And then you see him at some club, because they've all got these sort of talisman, these sort of runic symbols, who the vampires know where they're going. And it's a snowy Moscow, and it's a club down there as well. And he's standing there, this guy, black against the white snow. And it's like, I don't know. Hello, comrade, or something like that. What's Russian for hello? Oh, greetings, comrade. I don't know. But I'm loving this, Steve. I'm loving the contrast of, like, he says, shoving the canvas right out of the frame so you can't see it. The black and the red. Very satanic looking, of course. Nice, simple font for that. Remember, it's very eye-catching. Blade. And we all wanted to be Blade, to kick ass. To have all those. It was Bondian because Whistler was like his Q, you know, Desmond Llewellyn for MI6, Q departments, with all his gadgets and weapons. You know, he fixes up the car, he fixes him up, serums and all that. Gives him new sharpened stakes, adamantium, silver, fucking titanium stakes, and all his weaponry. And the UV lamps that he uses to torture Pearl. And of course he gets grenades, UV grenades, for the second movie, which are fucking awesome. Like, the sequence in the sewer, I will say, is one of it's so exciting. He's got a bomb, one of those, you know, he's got a lever like that. But Ron Perlman has set him up, because even the Reapers, the Blood Pack of bastards, are going to set Blade up as well. And so he's surrounded by thousands of these are more like high-speed, rage-filled zombies than vampires, but they are vampires. They're all bally-headed, and they've got these big fucking mandible fangs, and there's swarms of them, and he's utterly surrounded. He's kicking them, he's shooting them, he's fucking slicing them. He has a gun with like a blade, on it, so he can do all sorts with that as well. But they're surrounding him, and like as Ron Perlman walks off and he's about to pull the plunger, did I ever tell you, Blade? You know, the bomb lever. They call it a lever. It's a lever. The bomb lever's stuck. And Blade's like, and they're fucking surrounding him. And then finally, he manages to do it. And this UV bomb goes off. Just wastes them all. They all explode in a fucking welter of vampire awful. Folks, from Steve 7 Smith, you know him, you love him. It is Blade, and it isn't Blade Runner. Oh, I've always said that even when I get it wrong, I usually tend to have mentioned the film itself, and like, I think it's this, but I've had a list of like other potentials, and you'll find, you go back on these, you'll find, I've got to big myself up because I've lost this one, haven't I? That I've mentioned it at least, so I kind of claim some kind of, you know, forgotten glory out of it. This one was so, but when I say it was close, Blade Runner was the one I was definitely thinking of, and I only kind of came to this Blade Runner, Blade, but I didn't really think it was going to be that. So aren't we lucky I can't play Vangelis? So there's some good stuff on this. Mark Isham is not my favourite composer, not by a hell of a long shot. But, and I think it was, who did the score for the second one? Oh no, it wasn't Giacchino, Marco Beltrami, I think it was. I've got that score, but it's not on the system. But I've got the expanded score for that as well, Blade 2, and that's great. But here's the first, and the most crucial. There you go. It's building up. You are not going to fuck with him, are you? Especially if you're a vampire. If you're a werewolf, you're fine. He's crap against werewolves. Hasn't got a fucking clue what to do with them. And he's crap with cat people as well. Cheers, you all. Oh god, that's nasty. Right, folks. Extend your thanks to Steve 7 Smith for this wonderful canvas. This will be making a lot of guest appearances in the background. I will hopefully be back with another video later on. I've got another idea for something. And we're either lucky or unlucky that Wednesday hasn't put in a real appearance. Popping a bit of noise. You may have seen a tail flick around, but I don't even know where she is. Oh, it was just, I think, oh, well, when my new dad starts sitting in front of that weird camera, which has the image of him on it as well, which is confusing my little feline brain, and he starts yakking on, I've got nothing to do, he's not playing with me. Oh, I hope she doesn't think like that. I wanted to make some little cameo appearances to intrude. That's all part of the fun. So in the meantime, when it's ever like ice skating uphill in between time, please keep it Kilted, keep it Celtic, and I am going to see you all. So does he kill his mum in the first movie? I can't. It's a bloody good excuse, pardon the pun, to watch Blade all over again. Let's look at it again. Look at that. It's a weird sword though, I will say that. I have reviewed that sword. There's a video on me reviewing that sword. The Sword of the Daywalker. Blade's Blade. And yeah. People go, it's a samurai. It's not a samurai sword at all. It's a different kind of, it's a movie sword. But anyway, and of course, if the wrong person picks it up, yeah, because it recognises Blade's hand, you know, and it goes, it spikes, and their hand goes in a big fountain of gore. Forgot about that. Lots of little tricks to it. It's great. It's a gadget lovers movie as well. It's got all these little things that happen and do, and you can click them and things happen, and gadgets. We love gadgets. And he carries them well. To run around with a sword and a long leather trench coat and great big fucking Mosher boots and tons of, like, you know, titanium stakes in your belt and all that ammunition and all sorts of stuff, like, not easy, trust me. With fighting order on and your battle order and all your kind of kit when you're going into action, that's bad enough with things jingle-jangling round and all that, to try and tape down. But to try and carry them all and look uber cool at the same time, that's a different kettle of fish, that is. Oh, I mentioned fish. She'll be out in a second now. Right, folks, I'm going to see you all later. rules.